Welcome to Sweet Cherry Novel, where we share heartwarming, romantic love stories just for you. When I grew up and met him again, I was pulled in front of him. This is Livy, remember her? Leo's lips curled slightly, his tone carrying a hint of teasing. My wife. How could I not remember? My face immediately turned bright red, feeling a bit embarrassed. I didn't expect him to still remember the things Auntie Chu used to brainwash him with when we were kids. When we were little, my mother loved taking me to Auntie Chu's house. Then she would hand me over to Leo, while she and Auntie Chu went out for massages and manicures. This was because my father and Uncle Guy were best friends from their school days. Uncle Guy once had a conflict with a male student from the next class. My father stepped in to help, and as a result, both were called to the principal's office to write self-criticism reports. From then on, they became sworn brothers, their bond incredibly strong. Friendship between boys can sometimes be that simple. After graduating, they started a business together. When Uncle Guy got married, my father was even his best man. My father married later and always held a small regret that Uncle Guy couldn't be his best man. Because of this friendship, my mother and Auntie Chu became as close as sisters. The two families even planned to have sons at the same time, so that my father's son could get married first. That way, it could make up for my father's regret. That was the first time I understood how the phrase, "the father's debt is paid by the son," could be used in such a way, but the timing was off. When Leo was born, my mother still hadn't shown any signs of pregnancy. It wasn't until Leo was 3 years old that I was born. The plan for the best man was completely dashed. To this day, my father still doesn't know where his son is. But when they found out I was a girl, both families were overjoyed, especially my father. He even ran up to Uncle Gui to show off. "So what? I have a daughter, and you don't, huh?" Gui Yuqing just smiled calmly, stood up straight, patted my father's shoulder, and said composedly, "Mr. Lin, it seems you've forgotten. Your daughter will have to marry into my family eventually." My father's expression immediately darkened, his smile freezing on his face. I only heard this story later when they were reminiscing about the old days. Because our two families visited each other often, my mother and Auntie Chu took care of us together. But in the end, the job of looking after me was entirely handed over to Leo. As far back as I can remember, Leo was always by my side. I used to run after him all the time. This continued until he started elementary school and began having homework. While I was still in kindergarten, completely unaware of what homework was, I would always cling to him. My mother, worried I was disturbing his studies, wanted to pull me away, but I refused, even throwing tantrums and crying. At times like these, Auntie Chu would always step in. "It's fine, just let her stay here. She's not bothering him at all." Seeing my mother still hesitating, Auntie Chu turned to ask Leo, who was doing his homework, "Lo, darling, is that right?" Hearing his answer, my mother and Auntie Chu finally breathed a sigh of relief. As we got a little older, he started to find me annoying. I would just widen my innocent eyes, act cute, and call out, "Lao." He would always sigh in resignation. Gradually, he got used to my pestering. He would quickly finish his homework and then play with me. But he was very self-disciplined. After playing for a while, he would always go back to reading. I, on the other hand, would always get so engrossed in playing that I'd forget to eat. No amount of coaxing from my mother or Auntie Chu worked. I would always find excuses to avoid it. This lasted until Leo said one sentence, "Livy, finish your food, then we'll play again." His tone wasn't stern, but it carried a strange pressure. I immediately went to eat obediently. Auntie Chu and my mother glanced at each other, smiling knowingly. During the meal, Auntie Chu looked at Leo, who was putting green vegetables in my bowl, and said with a laugh, "Livy listens to you so well. How about she becomes your wife in the future?" Leo looked up, glanced at me, and replied indifferently, "No need." Auntie Chu, unfazed, continued, "You're still young now, so it's okay if you don't want to. You can want it later when you're older." Leo fell silent, glanced at me eating with a greasy mouth, and quietly took a napkin to wipe my mouth for me. Time passed quickly. Leo entered middle school. People say boys are naturally good at sciences, and girls are good at humanities. That was certainly true for me. I hadn't even graduated from elementary school, but my grades were already suffering badly. But how come Leo didn't have this problem? He was good at everything. My mother always told him to tutor me. If she doesn't do well in elementary school, she'll fall even further behind in middle school. Auntie Chu agreed. Every time she urged Leo to come to my house to teach me, she would repeat one sentence, "Go teach your future wife well, son." I know. At first, he tried to argue back, but later, he couldn't be bothered to protest anymore. So, every day after coming home from school, He would come to my house to teach me before going home to do his own homework. I thought Leo was handsome even as a kid, and he only got more attractive as he grew older. But in the face of mathematics, even good looks were useless. I'd get sleepy just listening to the lecture. My math book was no better than a pillow. I resolutely rested my head on his arm. Olivia Lynn. His voice was deep and cool. He rarely ever used my full name. I instantly woke up, sat up straight, gave a sheepish grin, and continued listening to the lesson. Thanks to Leo's tutoring these past few years, I had improved quite a bit. I was about to take the entrance exam for middle school, and Leo was preparing for his high school entrance exam. It was a crucial period, and the academic pressure was mounting, but he still diligently helped me review my lessons. 1 week before the exam, while he was explaining a problem, I felt he was a bit distracted. Thinking he was stressed about his own exams, I told him he could just rest at home for the final week and didn't need to come over. He paused, rubbed my head, and forced a smile. "All right, but you have to study on your own. No slacking off." I smiled brightly. Absolutely no slacking. I thought it was just for a week. We could see each other again after the exams. I never expected that to be the last time we would see each other for a long time. After finishing my exam, I rushed home. Before I even had a chance to hear what my mother had to say, I ran over to his house. Normally, at this hour, Auntie Chu would have the door open already, knowing I was coming, even before I knocked. But today, I knocked for a long time, and no one answered. "Auntie Chu, Leo." I even called for Uncle Guy, who was rarely home, but there was still no reply. I held onto a sliver of hope, thinking maybe they had gone out for something and hadn't returned yet. My parents had come to stand behind me at some point. Uncle Guy moved the whole family to City A. What about Leo? He has to attend high school there too. I knew Uncle Guy had work over there, so for convenience, his wife and son had to go with him. I still asked, unwilling to accept it. Then why didn't Leo say anything to me? My mother patiently explained. Maybe he was afraid you'd be sad and didn't know how to bring it up. Back home, I shut myself in my room, tears falling uncontrollably. The person who had always been by my side since I was little was suddenly gone. The feeling of loss and emptiness was unavoidable. At that time, I was still young and simply thought it was the dependence of a younger sister on her older brother. But when I entered middle school, the age when one starts to experience first crushes, I realized that Leo held a different place in my heart compared to others. 3 years had passed. He must be quite mature by now. High school, a time of innocent youth, even with the intense pressure of academics, it couldn't stop the stirrings of young hearts. Seeing others around me start to discuss the boys they liked, whenever someone asked me what type of boy I liked, I would just smile and shake my head. I have to focus on my studies right now. But in my heart, there was already someone. The summer after the college entrance exams, I received my acceptance letter from University A. My parents were ecstatic. My mother immediately picked up the phone to call someone, gesturing excitedly as she talked. This time, she really surpassed all expectations. It was because I knew that in this school, there was someone I wanted to see. My efforts had finally paid off. All those hard days and nights of studying were not in vain. I could finally see the person I had missed day and night. After such a long time apart, I wondered if he still remembered me. I also didn't know what I should say when we met again. While I was lost in my thoughts, my mother finished her call, pulled my father over, and stood in front of me. She looked at me seriously. "How about our whole family moving to City A as well?" What? I hadn't even reacted yet, my face full of confusion. My father chimed in. I agreed too. What was going on? I was just going to college. Why did the whole family need to move? Did my father not need his company anymore? There was no need to be so extreme. College is only 4 years. I'll come back after I graduate. Is moving really necessary? My mother sighed and took my hand. It's your first time being away from home for so long. Your father and I are worried about you. I squeezed her hand back. I'm all grown up now. The school has dorms and food. What's there to worry about? Seeing my mother still silent, I quickly added a few more words to reassure her. Besides, Auntie Chu is also in City A. If anything happens, I can contact her. As soon as I said that, my parents immediately stood up. We were just waiting for you to say that. Huh. Just now, Auntie Chu and I discussed it. She said you should stay at their place. It's close to the school, and they can take care of you. That way, your father and I can be more at ease. At first, we were worried you wouldn't agree, but it seems we don't need to worry anymore. I was stunned. So, it was all just a test. There was no plan to move, and they weren't that worried. It was all just to gauge my reaction. They really are my parents. With acting skills like this, It's a shame they aren't competing for an Oscar. Before the official start of the semester, precisely half a month before, my mother started packing my luggage for me. "Mom, what are you doing? Why are you in such a hurry to kick me out of the house?" My mother didn't look up, her hands still moving quickly as she packed. "Go a little earlier. Get familiar with the surroundings first, so you won't be all flustered when school starts." "Mom, I'm 18 years old," I replied. My mother said solemnly, "You haven't seen each other for so long. Don't you want to see your Leo sooner?" My face flushed. "Mom, what are you talking about? You're both grown up now. It's not like when you were kids. You should get reacquainted." Why hadn't I thought of that? This was indeed a great opportunity. No one understands a daughter like her mother. My mom really is the best. I snatched the clothes from her hands. "Leave it. I'll do it myself." I had never packed my things so quickly. My mother looked at me with a knowing smile. "Now you understand. There are no lazy people in this world, only people without motivation." Everything was ready. I turned my head to look at my mother, who was leaning leisurely against the doorframe, eating an apple and watching me. She had completely shattered the last bit of attachment I had for this house. Afterwards, my parents saw me off at the airport, gave me a few simple instructions, and I, with a heart full of nervousness mixed with anticipation, began a new journey. Before I knew it, I had arrived in City A. I started looking around frantically and then saw Uncle Guai and Auntie Chu already waiting at the airport gate. I waved at them. Auntie Chu saw me and, in the next second, ran over. "We finally get to pick you up." Auntie Chu hugged me joyfully, holding my hand and chatting for a bit. "Our girl is getting more and more beautiful. You're a young lady now. Leo, don't you think so?" Auntie Chu turned around to speak to the person behind her. "So he came too." Just now, I was so overwhelmed by Auntie Chu's enthusiasm that I didn't even notice Leo standing behind Uncle Guai. Before he could even speak, Auntie Chu continued, "It's been a long time since you two saw each other, hasn't it?" "That's right, it's been 6 years." Auntie Chu said as she pulled me in front of Leo. "This is Livy, remember her?" I looked up slightly, my gaze meeting Leo's. I was so nervous I couldn't speak. On the outside, I appeared calm, but inside I was already a mess. The moment he saw me, Leo's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Then the corners of his lips lifted slightly. His tone carried a teasing smile as he said, "Of course. My wife. How could I not remember?" My face turned bright red, feeling a bit embarrassed. I had imagined countless times what the first thing he would say to me would be when we met again. I never expected it to be the brainwashing words Auntie Chu used all those years ago. "Leo, don't tease me." But deep down, I was secretly happy, as long as he remembered. Auntie Chu smiled brightly and pushed my luggage into Leo's hands, signaling for me to get in the car. Leo and I sat in the back seat, listening to Auntie Chu tell stories about our childhood. She said I used to be like a little tail, clinging to him. Every time I got scolded, I would hide behind him to seek comfort. When I was too naughty and about to be spanked by my mom, I would hug him tightly and not let go. When he went to school, I would even cry, refusing to be separated from him. Auntie Chu told the stories with such enthusiasm and vividness. I subconsciously turned to look at Leo, and just as our eyes met, I immediately turned away. We both felt awkward and simultaneously chose to remain silent. "Anyway, you clung to him the most when you were little. What I said is true. In the blink of an eye, you've both grown up so much." Auntie Chu lamented. "That's right, we've all grown up." I looked towards Leo. This sentence was also meant for him. At this moment, the car window was cracked open. Leo looked outside, the gentle breeze lightly rustling his hair. The sunlight shining in made his long, slightly curled eyelashes even more distinct. His almond-shaped eyes were long and narrow, bright yet deep. He seemed even more handsome now. The childishness from his younger days was gone, and the features on his face had become more defined. Even as a child, he was more mature than his peers, and now he seemed even more composed and stable. Just as I was staring at him in a daze, he suddenly seemed to sense my gaze. Is there something on my face? There is, an entire sky of handsomeness. No, I just thought I saw a crow fly by outside. I blurted out a classic, corny line. I even impressed myself. Afraid he would notice I was flustered, I quickly turned my head towards the window after speaking, avoiding his gaze. The air was silent for a few seconds. I stealthily tilted my head to peek at Leo. He had returned to his previous posture, and I faintly saw the corners of his lips twitch upwards. Looking at the room Auntie Chu had arranged for me, my heart suddenly felt strangely warm. Leo pushed my luggage in from behind. "Your luggage, I'll leave it here." I snapped back to reality and hurriedly took the suitcase from his hand, feeling a bit shy. "Thank you." The corners of Leo's lips twitched. "Not bad, you've learned some manners." What did that mean? Was I that naughty as a child? Before I could even retort, he spoke again. My room is right across. Across? I looked. It seemed to be true. His family's villa had 3 floors. Uncle Guy and Auntie Chu lived on the 2nd floor. The 3rd floor had 2 rooms. I was in this one, so the room opposite must be his. Being this close, didn't that mean I could see him just by opening my door in the morning? I was already excited just thinking about it. Leo, if I need anything, I can find you, right? No. Heath, then why did you specifically tell me you were in the opposite room? He was still the same as when we were little, saying one thing but meaning another. I flatly ignored his answer, taking it as a "Wes, thanks, Leo." Leo chuckled helplessly, turned, and left the room, heading downstairs. After you finish unpacking, come down for dinner. I heard his voice call back. I casually replied with an okay. At the dining table, I had been hungry all morning. Seeing a table full of my favorite dishes, my eyes couldn't help but light up, but to maintain my image as a lady, I tried my best to restrain myself, only picking at the green vegetables in front of me, chewing each bite slowly. Go on, eat. Don't be polite. Eat more. Auntie Chu saw that I wasn't eating much and thought I couldn't reach, so she pushed a plate of meat towards me. I quickly waved my hands. No, Auntie. Green vegetables are nutritious. I'm fine with just vegetables. Auntie Chu looked at Leo in surprise, as if seeking help. He seemed to receive the signal, put down his chopsticks, and sighed. You're all grown up, and your tastes have changed too. In that case, from now on, you'll have green vegetables for all 3 meals a day. My hand holding the chopsticks froze, and the corners of my mouth twitched. I was stunned. No way. Was I really going to be forced to eat only vegetables from now on? Olivia, oh Olivia. You really brought this upon yourself. With a table full of delicious food, you just had to choose green vegetables. If I don't save myself now, when will I? I immediately grabbed a piece of sweet and sour pork ribs and stuffed it into my mouth. Wow, this is delicious. Auntie Chu, can you teach me how to make this? Auntie Chu laughed in satisfaction. Of course, as long as you like it. She happily added a few more pieces of ribs to my bowl. Leo, seeing his mission accomplished, continued eating as usual. Phew, that was dangerous. I almost had to become a vegetarian for the foreseeable future. I had thought that living under the same roof, seeing each other day and night, we would naturally make some progress. Who knew that every day would just consist of a few good mornings, some small talk during meals, and watching TV together when we were free. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, it was the first day of school. Freshmen had to go to school early to complete registration procedures. Leo was also forced to go with me. The reason was that Auntie Chu said I had a terrible sense of direction, and that he absolutely had to take me there safely. I didn't know before I went, but once I got there, I was stunned. A prestigious school really is different. If I didn't have someone guiding me, I probably would have gotten lost. But that didn't seem to be the main point. I obediently followed behind Leo and immediately felt countless eyes glued to him. Isn't that Senior Leo? He's so tall, so handsome, oh my god. Not only is he a top student in the math department, but he also won first place in the national mathematics competition. He has countless scholarships. I finally get to see him in person. I heard the senior is cold and doesn't talk much. He's either competing or studying. But, who's that girl walking behind him? A freshman. I've never heard of him having a younger sister. A group of female students huddled together, whispering. Even though they tried to contain their excitement, I heard every word clearly. I just enrolled, and there are already so many rivals. I pouted, quickened my pace, and deliberately walked closer to him, letting out a soft humph. Leo seemed to notice my mood. What's wrong? I deliberately spoke in a sarcastic tone. I never knew you were so popular, Leo. I wouldn't have known if I hadn't come. I'm used to it, he replied nonchalantly. Used to it. I gritted my teeth, suppressing my anger. You must be very happy, being liked by so many people. Suddenly, my forehead flicked. It wasn't hard, but it was unexpected. What's this little head thinking about? People talk about it every day. Do I have to explain a math problem to each one of them so they'll focus on their studies? Seeing me frozen, Leo added, I'm not that free. I rubbed my forehead. The little fire of jealousy inside me was extinguished just like that. I turned my head away, but I couldn't stop the corners of my lips from curling up. Oh. He walked me all the way to my classroom door before leaving. I chose a discreet seat to sit down, but before I could even warm the seat, a group of female students crowded around. A moment ago, I saw Senior Leo walk you right to the classroom door. What's your relationship with him? I've never heard of him being close to any girl before. I don't like people who meddle in others' business, but thinking about it, this was a good opportunity to declare my sovereignty. Leo and I are childhood sweethearts. After saying that, I paused intentionally before adding, the kind with an arranged engagement since we were little. As soon as I finished, the expressions of the female students immediately turned gloomy and disappointed, and they quietly dispersed. It wasn't my fault, they were the ones who asked. My goal was achieved. I crossed my arms, feeling pleased, and prepared for class. Even in college, I still couldn't escape math. On the very first day of class, my head was spinning as I listened, feeling completely lost, and the grade for this course counted towards our final evaluation. If I failed, it would affect my graduation. What karma did I create? Why must I be entangled with math in this life? Whatever, I'll just take it one step at a time. Finally, class was over. Eating is the most important thing under the sky. I'll figure things out after a full meal. Livy, want to eat together? I heard the food in our school cafeteria is delicious. As soon as class ended, my deskmate enthusiastically invited me. But I already have someone I wanted to eat with. I waved to her. I smiled and said, sorry, I have plans today. I'll definitely go with you next time. Are you going to find your childhood sweetheart? My deskmate looked at me with a gossipy expression. I raised an eyebrow, said nothing, and just gave her a look that meant, that's right. When I got to the cafeteria, I saw Leo just as I expected. I knew he would definitely be here at this time. He always stuck to a strict schedule of 3 meals a day. I randomly picked 2 dishes, to be precise, 2 meat dishes, and ran straight over to sit across from him. Leo, from now on, let's eat together. Look, you eat alone every day. It must be so boring. Having someone to eat with will make the food taste better, right? I said while stuffing a bite of rice into my mouth. Leo didn't even need to look up to know it was me. He just said calmly, eat properly. Don't talk or you'll choke. After speaking, he glanced at my tray. No vegetables today. Without thinking, I blurted out, why would I eat that? Green vegetables are so hard to swallow. Leo said nothing, just picked up a stalk of vegetable from his own tray and placed it on mine. You need a balanced diet. If I didn't know his eating habits so well, I would have suspected he didn't want to eat it and was deliberately pushing it onto me. I had always been very obedient to him since we were young. Even though I was grown up, whenever he spoke, I still felt an indescribable pressure and didn't dare to talk back. I winced and frowned, reluctantly chewing the vegetable and swallowing it down. As long as I chewed quickly, my taste buds wouldn't register it. From then on, eating with Leo every day became an indispensable habit. Whenever I didn't have class, I would run to the math department, sometimes bringing him milk, sometimes bringing snacks. Though in the end, I was the one who ate all the snacks, because he said they were junk food and unhealthy, so he could only let me handle them for him. Alright, I admit I deliberately finished class early. I would sit obediently by his side, waiting for him so we could go home together. He didn't object. As time went by, I gradually got to know the upperclassmen in the math department. Every time I came by, they couldn't help but tease me, here to find your Leo again. I would comfortably reply, that's right, that's right. Today was the same. After class, I went to find Leo to eat together, but I waited in his classroom for a long time and couldn't find him. A few seniors who had already finished eating came back and told me, there's a competition coming up. Leo is probably in the research lab. The research lab was a place exclusively for students participating in the math competition to practice. My first reaction was that he probably hadn't eaten yet. So, before heading to the lab, I stopped by the cafeteria and bought a sandwich to bring with me. The research lab was eerily quiet. It felt like a place no ordinary person could step into. If it weren't for Leo, I probably wouldn't have dared to come here in my entire life. I was both excited and nervous, searching for that familiar figure. But it seemed he wasn't alone. Sitting across from him was a girl with waist-length hair. She looked very pure and lovely. The two of them sat opposite each other, occasionally exchanging a few words. She would chuckle softly, every gesture exuding a gentle elegance. I clutched the sandwich tightly in my hand, a sour feeling rising in my chest. I admitted she was very beautiful. I told myself it was nothing. They were probably just study partners. With that, I regained my composure and boldly walked straight to Leo, sitting down next to him. He looked up, saw it was me, and immediately scooted over to make more comfortable space for me. The girl across from him frowned slightly, probably thinking I was there to strike up a conversation. Excuse me, we're preparing for a competition. We're not receiving visitors. I ignored her and handed the sandwich to Leo, deliberately acting cute. Leo, why did you come here without telling me? You made me wait forever. Leo took the sandwich, paused for a moment, and then said in a low voice, I didn't mean to. It was a last-minute thing, and I forgot. The girl opposite finally realized that we knew each other. She pursed her lips slightly and turned to ask him, "Who is she? I've never seen her before." I immediately spoke up first. "I am Olivia Lin, Leo's childhood sweetheart." I deliberately emphasized the last two words. "I just enrolled, so it's normal that you don't know me." She forced a laugh. "Oh, so you're a freshman. No wonder I've never heard him mention you." "I've never heard him mention you either," I replied with a polite smile. Her expression stiffened. "Little sister, it seems you're disturbing our work. You should leave now. It wouldn't be good if you affected Leo's competition." Oh, calling him Leo so intimately. With Leo's talent, do you think I could possibly affect him? The only one being affected here is probably you. This was the perfect time to use a green T-zone tactics against her. I immediately linked my arm through Leo's, scooting closer to him, and asked sweetly, "Leo, am I bothering you by sitting here?" His ears turned slightly red. He cleared his throat twice. "No." I looked smugly at the other girl. She still hadn't given up and looked a bit impatient. "But having her sit next to you like this, I'm used to it." Leo cut her off nonchalantly. I was overjoyed, while her face became incredibly ugly. On the way home, I didn't say a word. That Su Shanshan, where on earth did she pop up from? How long had they known each other? This couldn't be one of those childhood sweetheart loses to a new flame situations, could it? No, I absolutely would not let that happen. As soon as we entered the house, I pulled Leo, who was about to go upstairs, down onto the sofa and aggressively questioned him. "Are you two very close?" "Ooh," Leo asked. "Su Shanshan. Not close?" He replied instantly. "Then why were you two laughing and talking so happily?" He chuckled softly. "Which eye did you use to see me laughing with her?" His answer was firm without a hint of hesitation. It didn't seem like he was lying. And it was true. At the time, only Su Shanshan was laughing. It was just the two of you there." My voice trailed off. Leo patiently explained, "Su Shanshan is my mentor's daughter. We're competing together this time, and the professor told us to exchange some notes." I mumbled, "Oh, so that's it, as long as she's not some new flame." I told myself, "See, just study partners." "What are you mumbling about?" Leo rubbed my head. "Huh, nothing." I jumped up and ran upstairs, but unexpectedly, I blurted out, "I thought she was trying to steal you from me." I froze. I said that so quietly. Surely he didn't hear me, right? What, scared I'll be stolen away? He still heard me. I was just saying. The stars are so bright tonight. We were inside the house. What stars was I talking about? I pretended to look elsewhere, trying to change the subject. Leo bowed his head, chuckled helplessly, and then walked past me, saying in a low voice, "Don't worry. I'm not that easy to steal." Recently, because he was busy with the competition, Leo spent almost all his time in the research lab. Ever since the Su Shanshan incident, even if I stayed with him late into the night, she didn't have anything more to complain about. Finally, the competition ended. Unsurprisingly, Leo won first place again. That day, after class, as was my habit, the moment I heard the bell I ran off to find him to go home together. But just as I stood up, my deskmate pulled me back. "Tonight there's a mixer organized by the upperclassmen. Are you coming?" "Not going. I'm not interested." She grabbed my arm. "Don't refuse so quickly. This mixer is also a welcome party for new students, so everyone can get to know each other." We'd been in school for almost 2 months, and they were only just now holding a welcome party. That was just a nice way of putting it. In reality, it was more like a matchmaking event. "Not going. I already have someone I like." Her eyes sparkled as she looked at me. "I heard there are some really handsome seniors. Aren't you curious?" I frowned, shot her a look, and prepared to leave. All right. I know your heart only belongs to Senior Leo, but the senior sisters organizing it said, everyone who attends has to bring someone, or they have to drink 3 penalty shots. Just come help me out. It's just 3 shots. She should just drink them, I thought. But looking at her expectant face, I couldn't bring myself to refuse. After all, since the school year started, she had helped me take notes and even covered for me whenever I was late. I hesitated a bit. She said anxiously, "You just have to sit there. You don't have to say anything. Just make up the numbers. We can leave right after. How about it?" I was skeptical. Really? I guarantee it. All right then. I reluctantly agreed. But the thing I needed to consider now was how to tell Leo that I'd be home late tonight. If I told him the truth, he definitely wouldn't agree. But if I hid it and he found out I went to a mixer, I'd probably be dead. No. Just the thought of it was terrifying. I had to find a reasonable excuse that he would believe. On the way, I kept hesitating. I finally managed to summon some courage, but when I saw Leo, my gaze became evasive. I waited until he was packing his things, then I took the opportunity to speak very softly. "Leo, what's wrong?" He put his things down and looked at me. Why was he looking at me like that? I felt so guilty. Nothing. This wouldn't do. If I didn't say it now, it would be too late. I took a deep breath and summoned my courage again. I have something to tell you. We both spoke at the same time. You go first. You go first. Again at the same time. I quickly interjected. Never mind, you go first. Leo looked at me intently. I have a group meeting tonight. You might have to go home by yourself. Is that okay? If it's not, I can postpone. Before he could finish his last sentence, I hurriedly cut him off. Yes, it's fine. I'm a big girl now. I can go home by myself. Heaven was helping me. This meant I didn't have to lie. I could go without worrying about being found out. Are you sure? Leo confirmed again. I tugged his sleeve, beaming. Oh my, I'm really fine. You can go without worrying. He seemed to remember something and asked again. Right, what were you going to say just now? Oh, nothing. It wasn't important. I said guiltily, waving my hands. Leo nodded. All right, text me when you get home. I confidently gave him an okay sign. To avoid being discovered, I waited a while after Leo left before heading to the bar to meet the others. After calculating the time, I sent him a text. I'm home. He immediately replied, okay. When I arrived, I found the place was packed. Boys and girls were sitting opposite each other, clearly for matchmaking purposes. I tried to slip into an unnoticed corner, but my deskmate immediately pulled me over and enthusiastically told me to sit next to her. And so, I ended up sitting right in the middle, in the most conspicuous spot. I suddenly had a bad feeling. After a while, everyone started playing games. I played along to avoid being a killjoy. When it came time for self-introductions, I was planning to use the excuse of going to the bathroom. Just then, a senior suddenly stood up, looked at me, and said, You're Olivia Lynn, right? I froze for a moment, then nodded slightly. He continued, Our entire dorm knows about you. We heard there's a very beautiful freshman this year. Today, we finally got to meet you. You really live up to the rumors. I forced a polite smile, feeling a bit awkward. I thought the conversation would end there, but unexpectedly, the senior picked up a glass of fruit wine and walked towards me. Junior, let me buy you a drink, as a way of getting to know you. Sorry. I instinctively backed away, holding up the glass of water in my hand. I only drink water. He wouldn't let it go. It's fine. It's just one glass of fruit wine. Are you not going to give me any face? I started to get annoyed. I really don't drink. It's fine, just a little bit. He was relentless, continuing to pressure me. I lost my patience and stood up, intending to snatch the glass from his hand. The moment I stood up, a figure flashed past my eyes, faster than me. This person grabbed the senior's wrist, took the glass from his hand, and then splashed its contents directly into the senior's face. He then placed the glass down neatly on the table. Sorry, my hand slipped. She already said she doesn't drink. Forcing her like this isn't very interesting, is it? The voice was deep and magnetic, the tone calm but full of authority. Wasn't that Leo? Even though I couldn't see his face, I could never mistake that voice. The people around us also started buzzing, calling Leo's name. I was even more certain. Oh my God, why was he here? I had felt a chill down my spine from the beginning. It really was a bad omen. I immediately lowered my head, using my hair to cover my face, trying to sneak away behind him. Don't see me, I muttered as I carefully tried to slip away. Olivia Lynn, I was done for. It's true what they say, what you fear most is what you'll run into. Being called by my full name, I shuddered. It was too late for tears. I could only obediently turn my head to look at him, still trying to run. Leo's brow furrowed, his voice several shades colder. I stood frozen like a statue, not daring to move, letting him pull me out of that place. The night sky had fallen, and the early autumn breeze blew by, carrying a slight chill. I trailed behind Leo like a child who had just done something wrong. He didn't say anything. Was he really angry? Looking at that expression, he was definitely angry. But, okay, be angry. Just don't ignore me after you're done being angry. Explain. He suddenly spoke. I panicked, not reacting in time. Explain what? I had my head down and didn't notice that he had suddenly stopped. Bam! I walked straight into his back. Leo sighed softly, turned around to look at me, his voice still as indifferent as before. This is what you call going home. You said you were home, but you were at a mixer. I panicked and quickly waved my hands. No. It's not what you think. I didn't want to go. I just went with my deskmate to make up the numbers. I didn't have any other intentions. She's usually really nice to me, so I agreed to help. But Leo didn't seem convinced. I rushed to explain faster. I even made it clear that I have someone I like. I was just planning to sit for a bit and then leave. I didn't expect you to show up. I managed to swallow my words just in time. I couldn't speak too quickly, or all my hidden feelings would be exposed. I snuck a peek at him, avoiding his gaze. Leo paused slightly. The person you like. It was already exposed. I didn't want to hide it anymore. I took a step forward and looked at him seriously. That's right. The person I like is you. We looked at each other for a long time. Leo seemed a bit stunned. This was the first time I had ever seen him with such a dazed expression. It was actually kind of cute. I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't expect him to answer me right away, but at least he knew my feelings now. I considered it a step forward. But wait, this didn't seem to be the main point. Shouldn't he be listening to my explanation first? Why did we suddenly get sidetracked onto another topic? Oh, whatever. The most important thing right now was to calm his anger. Seeing him open his mouth as if to say something, I immediately tugged lightly on his sleeve, taking the chance to apologize first. Leo, I know I was wrong. I won't do it again next time. Leo paused as if snapping back to reality. Next time? No. I immediately shook my head. There won't be a next time. I smiled obediently and apologetically. His expression softened. He said softly, let's go home. Then he turned and continued walking. He's probably not angry anymore, right? I let out a sigh of relief and happily ran after him. When we got home, Uncle Guy and Auntie Chu had already gone to bed, but they had left the living room light on for us. I tiptoed quietly, preparing to go upstairs, but I suddenly felt a weight on my back. A second later, someone rested their chin on my shoulder. A warm breath fanned against my ear. I immediately froze. I turned my head and called softly, Leo. I leaned closer and smelled alcohol. Wait. He had blocked that drink for me earlier, but he seemed so sober then. I hadn't noticed at all. It seems he had been holding it in the entire way home. I used all my strength to drag Leo to his room. He looked so thin. How was he so heavy? As a result, I stumbled and ended up tossing him straight onto the bed. He frowned slightly but remained lying still. I rushed over in a panic to check on him. Sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. I slowly moved closer, waving my hand in front of his face. Seeing no reaction, a bold idea suddenly popped into my head. I leaned in closer, so close I could feel his breath. My fingers gently traced over his eyebrows, eyes, nose, lips, and then his Adam's apple. I mumbled, how are his eyelashes so long? He's this handsome even when he's sleeping. I giggled. But, since I've already become such a fangirl, stealing a kiss while he doesn't know anything isn't too outrageous, is it? I tensed up, my palms beginning to sweat. I hesitated for a long time. Finally, I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and gently placed a kiss on the corner of his lips. I shot up immediately afterward. I covered my face, my heart pounding wildly. I have to run. But just as I turned my body, my wrist was grabbed tightly. I lost my balance and was pulled stumbling onto the bed. Before I could react, Leo flipped over and pinned me beneath him. I met his hazy deep gaze. I tensed and swallowed hard. Leo, how are you awake? He whispered, kiss and run. If I didn't wake up, what if you refused to admit it tomorrow? This guy, was he pretending to be drunk, or was he really drunk? I immediately felt extremely embarrassed. I simply squeezed my eyes shut and turned my head to the side, avoiding him. Suddenly, a warm breath fanned across my ear, followed by Leo's lips gently touching the rim of my ear, soft and tender. He whispered, Livy, I finally waited until the day you grew up. After saying that, his lips slowly moved downwards. His breathing was ragged, laced with restraint. He nibbled gently, tracing a path along my skin, slowly gliding over my neck until he found a suitable spot. He began to kiss and suck gently. I gripped his sleeve tightly, my whole body tingling. The tension from before was instantly replaced by a wave of heat, leaving me weak and without any strength. His movements were very slow, allowing me to gradually adapt and accept it. Just when I thought something was definitely going to happen tonight, this guy actually fell asleep. I wasn't mistaken. He was sound asleep. Was he so tired he just passed out? Did he force himself to stay awake all this time just to kiss me a little? Leo, wake up. Early the next morning, before I was fully awake, I heard Auntie Chu banging on the door and shouting in panic. Leo slowly opened his eyes, turned his head to look at me and frowned, his face full of confusion. It was true, I was also exhausted last night and had fallen asleep at some point without realizing it. I gave him a strained smile. Good morning, Leo. He moved his lips slightly, as if wanting to say something, but stopped. Just as we were staring at each other, the door was pushed open forcefully. Auntie Chu burst in, yelling, oh, this is bad. I can't find Livy anywhere. Before she could even finish the word, anywhere, her eyes landed on me and Leo. The three of us stared at each other. Then, both of them simultaneously looked down at my neck. Only then did I react, quickly raising my hand to cover it, but it was too late. It was definitely the mark he left last night. Auntie Chu looked like she understood everything. She glared angrily at Leo. Leo, you come out here with me. The way she looked, it was as if we had actually done something. But we really hadn't done anything. Leo, you're on your own. Good luck. I tidied myself up and prepared to go downstairs for breakfast. As I passed the second floor, I suddenly heard Auntie Chu's and Leo's voices coming from a room. I reflexively took a step back. Curiosity made me lean quietly against the wall, trying to listen. Are you serious about this? It was rare for me to hear Auntie Chu ask him something so seriously. He paused for a moment, then chuckled softly. Didn't you already see her as your daughter-in-law? True, I decided that a long time ago. But what about you? If you don't like her, it doesn't matter how much I like her. I'm just afraid Livy will be the one who suffers. I almost burst out laughing. Me, suffer. Auntie, I was the one who stole a kiss last night. How am I the one suffering? Before I could even finish feeling happy, Leo's voice rang out. Who said I don't like her? Auntie Chu was clearly stunned. Then her eyes lit up. You really? Mom, don't worry. Your daughter-in-law is still your daughter-in-law. No one can steal her away. He looked straight into her eyes, his tone firm. I'm serious. After hearing this, Auntie Chu smiled brightly and left, satisfied. I, on the other hand, stood frozen, my heart suddenly fluttering wildly. On the way back to school, the atmosphere in the car was unusually silent. Leo kept glancing at me. I knew he was looking, but I was afraid he would bring up the kiss I stole last night. What if he wanted to settle the score? So I pretended to be calm, acting as if nothing had happened. Finally, he couldn't hold back. Your neck. I'm sorry. I was stunned. Huh. Oh this. It's fine. You were drunk. I don't blame you. I was very sober then. His voice was soft, so quiet that it was drowned out by the music in the car, and I didn't hear him clearly. I scratched my head and chose not to ask again. As long as he didn't mention the part about me stealing a kiss, I was more than happy. The car stopped at the school gate. Just before I got out, Leo suddenly called me back. He took off his jacket and draped it over me. Put this on, it's cold. The weather wasn't that cold, but it was true that winter was approaching. I obediently put it on. His jacket was huge and swallowed me whole, but it was really warm. It was only then that I realized, thanks to this jacket, the marks on my neck were completely hidden. What a cunning man. As expected, just a few days after returning to school, things weren't peaceful. It was Su Shanshan again. Hasn't the competition already ended? Why is she still haunting this place? I was just about to find Leo to go for lunch, but who would have thought she would appear at this exact moment? Was she doing this on purpose? Su Shanshan spoke first. We need to talk. She had the same arrogant gaze as before. I crossed my arms impatiently. Are we that close? I don't think we have anything to talk about. I really couldn't be bothered to argue with her, and besides, I was starving. I had no time to waste on her, so I decided to ignore her and walk around. But Su Shanshan blocked my path, raising her voice. Leo will never like you. Stop clinging to him. I found this hilarious. Excuse me, but whether Leo likes me or not has anything to do with you. If I don't cling to him, does that mean he'll like you? My gaze seemed to make Su Shanshan a bit flustered, but she still wouldn't back down. You're truly naive. He and I are the same kind of people. I can help him. What can you help him with? I don't think he actually likes you. He's just playing around with you. I was momentarily stunned. What was she talking about? I don't know if these words had any real damaging power, but they were certainly grating on the ears. I glared at her angrily. Su Shanshan took a step back, looking a bit flustered. Suddenly, she raised her hand, intending to push me. With my reflexes, dodging her would have been easy. But I suddenly saw Leo approaching in the distance. Just as Su Shanshan's hand swung down, I seized the opportunity and threw myself to the ground. Thud. Ouch. That fall was hard. It really hurt. Leo's steps suddenly quickened, his face darkening. A second later, he grabbed Su Shanshan's wrist and shoved her back. You've gone too far. My eyes welled up with tears, and my voice was choked. Leo, I don't know what I did wrong. She just keeps trying to bully me. Su Shanshan frantically tried to explain. No, it wasn't me. She fell on her own. Suddenly, I felt myself being lifted off the ground. Leo swept me up into his arms, his eyes full of disgust as he looked at Su Shanshan. Who do you think you are? Livy is my fiancé. You have no right to make decisions for me. Before leaving, he left her with one cold, final sentence. The person I like is her, and only her, forever. Being carried by Leo all the way back was actually a bit embarrassing. I kept insisting I was fine, but he stubbornly got me excused from class and took me home. This made me miss the sweet and sour pork ribs at the cafeteria today. This was all Su Shanshan's fault. When we got home, Leo gently placed me on the sofa, telling me to rest for a bit before turning to the kitchen. I looked down as my stomach suddenly growled. I wasn't really injured, I couldn't just sit still. So, I snuck into the kitchen. I saw his back as he was cooking at the stove. It was the sweet and sour pork ribs I loved most. A man who can cook is just devastatingly charming. How could I resist? I slowly walked up and wrapped my arms around his waist from behind, pressing myself against him. It felt so warm and secure. Leo tensed slightly, pausing his actions. Why aren't you resting? Are you really okay? I felt a little guilty and quickly let him go, forcing a laugh. What could happen to me? She barely has any strength. He narrowed his eyes on me. Busted. Knowing I couldn't hide it anymore, I confessed. Alright, I did it on purpose. Who told her to say you don't like me? She even said you thought I was too young and childish. Leo suddenly lifted me up and sat me on the counter. My legs naturally wrapped around his waist. This position was far too intimate. She said that, and you believed it? Of course not. I immediately denied it. I just found her annoying. An idea flashed in my mind. I slowly wrapped my arms around his neck, my eyes sparkling, and leaned in closer. So, Leo, just admit it. You do like me, right? His arms tightened around my waist. He looked straight into my eyes, without a trace of hesitation. I admit it. His lips quickly pressed down on mine, carrying warmth. His tongue skillfully parted my teeth, pulling me into a deep, possessive kiss. It was as if all the years of restraint exploded in this one moment. I was kissed until I was tingling all over, my mind spinning. I instinctively kissed him back. I don't know how much time passed, only that when I was completely out of breath, Leo finally let me go. He said softly, his voice laced with a smile, "This is the second time we've kissed." I was still in a daze, about to argue, when I realized something. Damn it! This guy remembered me stealing that kiss. My face instantly turned bright red. I was so embarrassed I buried my face in his neck. Leo chuckled, his eyes full of indulgence. He held me tightly, lifted me up like a koala, and headed straight for the bedroom. Hey, I haven't eaten yet. I struggled, but his grip was too tight, I couldn't escape. We'll eat later. He bent down and kissed me again. My heart cried out in agony. My sweet and sour pork ribs. Apology. From that day on, Leo and I were officially together. Auntie Chu and Uncle Guy looked at us with satisfied, beaming smiles. See, a wife raised since childhood is still the best match. They look perfect together. During winter break, Leo went home with me. Not long after, Auntie Chu and Uncle Gui also showed up with their luggage, saying the two families should spend the new year together. After my parents found out Leo and I were dating, they were beyond thrilled. They said things like, keeping the wealth within the family, and, it's perfect for two best friends to have their children marry. They chattered endlessly. My parents even told Leo that I was very stubborn and hoped he would be patient and take good care of me. But Leo just replied calmly, I've been spoiling her since she was little. I raised her myself, I understand her best. After graduating from college, Leo started his own small company. He could have slept in every morning, but to drive me to school, he still woke up an hour early every day, and even supervised my breakfast. He had promised that as soon as I graduated from college, we would get married immediately, and he really did it. 1 week before my graduation, Leo started acting strange. Sure enough, right after the graduation ceremony, as soon as we finished taking photos, I saw him standing there holding a bouquet of flowers, waiting for me. I knew immediately he was about to propose. Even though I had predicted it, I still cried my eyes out. I even suspected he deliberately chose a crowded place, so I wouldn't dare refuse. The wedding went smoothly. I originally thought I would cry so much my makeup would be ruined, but unexpectedly, the one who shed tears was Leo. It was the first time in my life I had seen his eyes turn red. After reciting his vows, he held me tightly for a long time. There was just one thing. After the reception, my mother told me that from now on, I had to go home with my husband. I immediately burst into tears, hugging my mom, unwilling to leave. As a result, Leo just calmly said one sentence, our two houses are right next to each other. It's a 2-minute walk. This guy really knows how to ruin a mood. On our wedding night, Leo and I changed into our pajamas and got into bed. He held me in his arms, and I leaned against his shoulder as we watched our wedding vlog. Suddenly, I felt like everything was unbelievable. Time had passed so quickly. Looking at the man beside me, I felt incredibly happy. Leo looked at me, his eyes gentle. Then he leaned close to my ear and whispered, I love you. I didn't answer with words, only with action. I actively kissed him, but I was immediately pulled in tighter, into a deeper kiss. His hands gently caressed my waist, then slowly slid down. Clothes fell to the floor, one by one. Our fingers intertwined, holding on so tightly it was as if we wanted to merge into one. His eyes were full of love and affection. I also felt happiness and contentment. After it was over, we held each other tightly, listening to each other's heartbeats and breathing. In this moment, the world suddenly became incredibly beautiful, as if we were the two happiest people in the world. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this sweet romance story, please like, share, and subscribe to Sweet Cherry Novel for more heartwarming tales. See you in the next story.